Hello, everyone. Welcome to the third episode of a Pet Life podcast. Today, we'll be talking about our feline friends. And we have two very special guests joining us today. We have Dr. Michelle Simoes, who is a vet. She has been practicing for over a decade now. She holds specialization in anesthetics, feline medicine, and wildlife. She is also a mom to three cats, Fergie, Misty, and Breezy. Correct, no?
Mitzi. That's right.
Mitzi, sorry. So thank you for joining us today. And we also have with us Mitali. Mitali is a trained behaviorist, a trained feline behaviorist. She has been a cat mom for over a decade and a half now. She has studied feline behavior under the veteran Italian feline behaviorist Laura Borromeo. She has two stray cats, Feroz and Sister, and recently departed dog. She is outnumbered in her home. They teach her something new each day about interspecies harmony. So thank you so much for joining us today. With the number of household pets growing in India and with more people, with a growing fondness for our feline companions, I think it would be really useful for our listeners and viewers to learn more about all things cat related. For those considering bringing a cat home, what should they actually expect?
I think the first thing you expect is you can't have pretty things anymore. So you can't have glassware out and you can't have lilies in the house or plants because cats love knocking them off. You can also expect to change how you see love because we're so used to dogs, we expect cuddling and love, and cats have a different love language. But you can look forward to a lot of laughs each day and a lot of quiet companionship.
Lovely. So, when you're getting a cat home for the first time, a vet visit is super important. So, can you tell us a little bit why?
So it's like getting a new child in the house, basically. But for cats, I think it's important to first of all establish a rapport with a vet who you trust. And the first visit would just be making sure that the kitten, if it's a kitten, is healthy. Check for any genetic deformities. Check their teeth, their jaw, their ears, their eyes, everything else. And then you'll move into deworming and vaccination. And vaccines are very important for cats, just as they are with dogs. But a lot of the diseases that kittens carry, they bring from their mom or they bring from the outdoors if you brought them in, and they're very often fatal. So it's important to get your vaccines going early at 6 to 9 weeks, and before that, you'll have a couple of rounds of deworming.
So, my first up close and personal interaction with cats was when I moved my business out of my home to my cloud kitchen in Grant Road, where we had a bunch of cats come and they somehow knew food was being prepared there. So, they'd come every day, get their meals, and eventually decided they wanted to also be part of the furniture while we were there. So, they'd come, sleep. And given that I've been a dog mom, my first reaction was, let's play with them, let's pet them. And I did get a few scratches and bites before I realized that, okay, this is not what they want all the time. So how do we actually decode cat behavior?
So, firstly, I want to point out that you've been a victim of an organized crime ring. Outside every pet shop, you have this, war-torn little cat who's like, "Oh, I've never been fed," and you go and feed them. So, congratulations on being bugged. I think two things to remember are cats. You mostly pet them from nose to neck. So all those fine points of the little whiskers, the ears, and anything below, that's really where the organ sac is it's sort of no-go because that's a threat as opposed to, belly rubs on a dog. And then you can do the bum to tail. And if you sort of limit your scratches there, scritches over there, cats like it, especially on the face, kind of if you do that, they really like that. And also a wagging tail in a cat is a no-go. It's not a happy gesture as it is in dogs. So that's quite something to remember. But mostly, if you just put your finger in front of the cat, and the cat will tell you how she likes it, they'll come and kind of like do a rub, and then you just follow that line. Cats are very good at giving instructions.
Yeah, yeah. But sometimes the biting and the scratching is also playful, right? It's not always like with a bad intention.
Yeah, it's sort of like a co-grooming because in the cat world, you give me screeches, I cannot do that back to you. Horses do that too. But like with horses and with cats, it can be a bit playful. So we can communicate back saying, this sort of hurts. So You can withdraw and come back. And we're just kind of learning to get along. So I think this exchange of information is great for both species.
And you know that like needing behavior that they do, what does that actually mean?
That's sort of, it's cute because that's what kittens would do to express milk. So it's like a co-oxytocin thing that kind of come and need on you, and then they'll purr, and then you kind of massage their face. They'll sort of settle into a happy little ball on your chest or your stomach. It's a bonding little exercise.
So we often hear the phrase that cats are like curious toddlers with claws. So what do we need to do to actually keep them safe when we bring them home?
So what we have to remember is cats are predator and prey, which means as predators they want high hidden spaces, and they want hidden spaces because they're prey. So how their brain functions is, I want to look at everything, but I want to be hidden while doing it so that a kite doesn't pick me up. So the easiest thing to do is to arrange your furniture or put shelves such that a cat can, the interconnectors, a cat can climb and go up, and open cupboards every few weeks, open a new cupboard so that they can go in there and have these hidden spaces. And it's really important for them after times of stress. So if they've been to a vet or they've had people visit, they need these hidden spaces to regulate themselves. So you have to give them all of this climbing and a little bit of, a challenge. So sometimes they're kind of balancing on a little pipe to go across. So if you divide your home vertically to have things that they can jump from, balance, hide, the cat is really happy and really stimulated, and growth is taken care of because, we want muscle growth, we want all of that. We want a sense of balance, proprioception, and all of those things that keep them happy in the environment. They're climbing trees, they're jumping. And the hidden places part. Very important to give them hidden spaces to withdraw into when you have guests or they've come back from something that's scary.
What about like windows and stuff like that? Like you generally need to net your windows.
You should net your windows because they would want to catch a bird. That's a natural instinct for them. Also, they want the sunlight. It's really important that they're sun-loving creatures, right? They want to bathe, and what they would like is a little texture there. So maybe a bit of astroturf, maybe just a pot with mud in it, and then that natural grass kind of grows on it because they really thrive on that texture, that mud, or just your old t-shirt. So window spaces are really nice, especially if you kind of dapple them with a lot of plants. So they have that little dapple. They really enjoy it, and they like swatting plants. But I would be careful about too much exposure to flying birds, because that keeps them in a sort of state of arousal, because the instinct says I want to run and catch it, but I can't. So as a hunter, you're constantly wired. It's like being in a room with chocolate cake and you can never eat it. It's spinach every day for lunch. So you kind of want to regulate that.
I mean, generally what I've seen is that they love to nibble on plants and stuff like that. So are there plants that we should not keep at home if we have cats?
Lilies for sure. But
Snake plants?
Okay.
Yeah, maybe okay. You can do catgrass and lemongrass. They kind of like those, and little the grass that grows wild. Snake plants are not a great idea. Aloe, maybe not.
Yeah, aloe also. They probably won't go for aloe, but spider plants are fine. Money plants are also okay. But any plants, if they eat a lot of, they will throw up. So it's not like the plant is toxic, but any leaves that they eat in excess, they will throw up. And you've got to be very careful about fertilizer and spraying your plants with things, because they will maybe dig in the mud and then groom their paws, and they ingest those toxins. So.
And when you get a puppy home, obviously you don't leave stuff lying around. Like I've had my Apple Watch strap chewed, and like little things that they can swallow. I've gone to vet visits because I'm like worried that he's eaten something and it might be in his belly. Is it the same thing with cats?
Yes, and cords especially. So you'll have to like cover all your cables and your cords so that they...
Like essentially cat-proofing the house entails a lot of things that you do when you have a puppy as well.
I think it's more than if you have a puppy, at least in my opinion. Yes. Yeah.
So they drop a lot of things if you have them. And also you want to give them things to scratch. Because just like you go to teething with dogs, cats need to scratch. So you want to have, and it'll be vertical as well as horizontal. Some cats like a vertical sort of, and some like a horizontal. The easiest hack is just keep cardboard boxes around.
Yeah. So that saves your furniture, so to speak.
May not, but
It may not.
may not.
Is there anything one can spray on, like sofas and stuff like that, to get them not to scratch those?
It's better to sort of give them more options than use a deterrent, because we don't know what's in that deterrent. I'm always kind of concerned because the cat is exploratory. What if it? So you can just, just simple textures of jute and cloth and cardboard, all of those help.
Yeah, so stimulate them with different things.
Give them lots of those options around and you're fine.
Okay, awesome. And I mean, Mitali, you've had dogs and cats both. So it's generally said that cats are easier to look after, because they're more aloof, less clingy, and also you don't need to do the walks. Would you agree with that?
Yes. But they're not aloof. They are quite clingy. It's just understanding. So let's look at this as cats. They can hunt for themselves. And they still choose to be around you. So there's some genuine love there, because it's not dependency. Dog, we've made dependent, right? They scavenge, and our pedigree dog would not be able to cross the road in Bombay. So we've got to make them dependent. But cats can, and they still choose you. And they'll like, I have a cat who's always in the same room that I am. And especially when I'm working, he's always at hand distance, and that's love. So I would say he's clingy, and you cannot sit down. I'm sure that happens with you. You cannot sit down without a cat like immobilizing you by sitting in your lap. But they are easier, especially because you don't have to create enrichment for them as much, and you don't have to walk them. If you build your enrichment into your environment in the house, and by way of feeding, so you just feed them in different ways, like they have to scavenge a bit for food, look for it a bit, they're very happy by themselves.
Yeah, okay. So for busier people, take note, easier pets to have.
Yeah, for sure. And they're lovely companions.
Of course, all animals are. So let's also talk a little bit about exercise and boredom. So generally, cats in an urban setting are indoor animals just purely because it's safer for them to be inside, right? But more and more in the West, you're seeing people who are like leash walking their cats, or, taking their cats outdoor, letting them climb trees and stuff like that. Like, what is your take on this?
I think each cat is individual because they're also in the middle of their domestication journey. I do know some cats who are genuinely confident on a leash and going out, but I do know that many of them are not, because again, they're predator and prey. If they had to be out, they'd like to be hidden and in corners because a bird can swoop and pick them up. So it does go, you have to read the cat. For instance, one of my cats would walk every time my dog walked, because he just thought he's a dog, like Firoz thinks he's a dog. He would not walk on a leash with me. But if Eli is walking, Firoz is walking with him. Yeah. And he would also poop together. He thinks he's a dog. So there's that. But cats do need their exercise every day, because in the natural world, they would get their exercise by hunting, and not every hunt is successful. So they need that amount of focus, stalking, jumping, leaping, It's really important for their well-being. And it's very important that after that, they have the satisfaction of having hunted. Otherwise, they're going to stay wired, which is why laser beams are not such a great idea. And if I was playing with a float pole with the string, after a while, when they've caught it, I'd let them keep it. That's really important for them to do that. And then you feed them, and then they groom, and then they sleep. This cycle is very important for their well-being. So which is why, again, I would build it into the environment. And instead of feeding him down here, at a set place, maybe every time they climb or in their perches, they'd find half a tablespoon of food. So now they are motivated to go through the environment, search the environment for food if I'm not home, or I do it through play if I am at home. And I work backwards from my sleep time to do that, because they're going to be most active at dawn and dusk. They're crepuscular. Is that how you pronounce it?
Crepuscular.
Yeah, crepuscular. And so I would time it then. I wouldn't do it at dawn, because who wants to get into the habit of playing with your dog at 5, with your cat at 5 a.m. But exercise is really, really important for their well-being.
Okay, excellent. Now let's talk a little bit about food habits. In my experience, my cat clients are like some of the hardest, because they're just so discerning with what they like to eat. They have
everything about a cat is hard.
they're already very set in their ways, and so getting them to change their food is one of it's a real task. So I mean, what kind of advice would you have for someone getting a new kitten home? It's like a fresh kitten. What kind of food would you recommend feeding? To set them up for success later on in life.
I think you'd start with just wet food initially because a small kitten won't be able to chew dry food, and 4 to 6 meals a day would be good. And go for really good quality commercial wet food if you're doing packet food. But if you're doing home food, then you have to remember that they don't need rice, they don't need grain because they are obligate carnivores, and you cannot keep a cat vegetarian. And there's no benefit to giving them like rice. So whatever you're feeding, you have to remember that cats are very, very loyal to their either their food brand or the protein they're eating. So decide what you'd want to feed them long term and get them used to that from a young age, because as they get older, it's very difficult to switch the kind of food and even the brand of food. And also don't keep switching your protein, I would say. I mean, that's more a nutritionist perspective, but I find that they often get a tummy upset if you keep switching from like tuna to chicken, and a lot of the pet foods that you get now are a combination of two proteins, which is not great for a cat. And make sure you're doing kitten food and not adult food, and not switching things like that. And 75% of their diet needs to be wet. So, for an adult cat also, that would hardly be 35 grams of dry food. But they keep asking us for food, and it's easier to give them dry. So then that's what we tend to gravitate to. But it's important to do a lot of wet.
Yeah. I think with the dry food is really useful is, during nighttime zoomies, for example, when they've had like all this activity at night, and it's just at least when they're hungry, they're not waking you up in the morning. So, that would probably.
Yeah, or if you're leaving home for a few hours and you can sort of leave a few. But I think it's like you have to be responsible, or like, with fast food.
Yeah.
How much French fries, how often are you eating, and how many at one sitting?
And even when you're doing all this mental enrichment stuff, you'd probably use a dry food then as well.
I could use wet food as well.
Okay. And I mean, nighttime zoomies, what are the coping mechanisms for those as a cat parent?
So the zoomies are because the cat is not getting enough exercise and it's kind of throwing off energy, unless it's a kitten, of course, and kittens have got that push because of the hormonal growth, right? So one thing is to work backwards. So if you're sleeping at 10 o'clock, play that whole string game which mimics the hunt sequence of, watching. So this stalking and then pouncing and chasing, whatever, and play it and then let the cat keep the toy. When she catches it, let her keep it, and then feed her. So now she's satiated, right? So she's done her whole hunt, make it difficult, it's got her system, she's eaten, and then she's going to groom, and then she's going to sleep. So if you kind of work backwards from your bedtime and sort of align it with sundown, you'll have a cat that's this. And also then, of course, if you could change a little bit of what you're doing with your furniture, in the sense, just keep other doors open at night. So the cat thinks, okay, I'm going to go explore this now. Yeah. So I'm talking about shoe rack, I'm talking about closets, whatever the cat goes into naturally. A drawer. So they just have something to do at night, which is when they would be out. That can help. And if you're doing dry food, then leave a few, and I'm talking about like 3, 4 at a perch in a thing where they're going and finding out. So you're not also overfeeding them. And that, little difficulty is really what enriches life. When I go and just find just enough food that is satisfactory, but I'm not.
Yeah, not putting them as well at the same time.
Nighttime zoomies is that just giving them enough exercise is very important.
So the next thing is hairballs, obviously something that a lot of cats struggle with. What advice would you have for cat parents to be able to deal with this?
One thing that's important is to brush them every day. Cats also mostly love being brushed, as long as you get them used to it from the time they're young. My cats, in the evening, they'll come and sit down, and if one cat's getting groomed, the other one will come and wait for it. But the grooming is a good bonding experience. Plus, you're getting rid of as much dead fur as possible. So that means they're ingesting less dead fur. They sometimes do overgroom when they're stressed. So if you're seeing patterns where they're missing large patches of hair on either side, then you will have to see why they're stressed, or if there's something in their food that's irritating them. But to get rid of hairballs, fiber is helpful. So if you're doing home cooked food, then just adding more pumpkin or carrot, things like that. And dry food itself will form like a lot of bulk and not fiber as such. So making sure that they have enough wet food will help hairballs. Another thing that you can do is a little bit of honey. Sometimes if you find that your cat is coughing up hairballs often or seems to be coughing more than usual, or any sort of oil, so adding a little bit of salmon oil or even coconut oil into their food, or just lacing it on top of their dry food sometimes helps them just push the hairballs out.
And dental care in cats. So that's like really important. How does one prevent dental disease?
So you can only prevent it to some extent, because a lot of dental issues are caused by viruses, and there may be viruses that they are bringing from their mother through the mother's milk. But keep an eye on your cat's mouth. So if you find that their breath is going a little off, it's more fishy than usual, it smells a little bit acidic or like vinegar, then you know that something's going on. Brushing teeth in cats is more of a textbook thing. Like, we tell pet parents to do it, but I can't do it with my own cats. But just getting them used to your finger in their mouth, rubbing off like bits of dry food that may be stuck there. Something that works is also a little bit of gauze on your finger, and then you kind of clean their teeth. Even twice a week is good enough. And that's one reason why a little bit of dry food is good, even if you're only on a raw diet or a completely wet food diet, because the dry food causes a little bit of friction with the gums and the teeth, and that kind of keeps it clean. And if you are facing a dental issue, you will find that your cat is having a little bit of difficulty eating. So look out while they're eating, and if you find them pawing their face frequently, so they'll do like so then you know that their teeth or their gums are hurting a little bit. So look out for that. And if you find them avoiding wet food and only going for dry, or the other way around, these all indicate something wrong with the gums. Yeah. And another thing is that Mitali and I were talking about it earlier, is that it spreads from one cat to another. So if one cat has it and they're all sharing the same water, then the dental issues will spread.
Like that bacteria will transmit. Oh, wow.
So it's important to have multiple water bowls.
Okay. So let's also talk a little bit about litter box activities. So, I mean, the way your cats use a litter box tells you a lot about how they're feeling emotionally and maybe their health as well. So, tell us a little bit more about that.
Just always keep an eye on how the litter box activities are. So first of all, you need to have one more litter box than the number of cats you have. It's like an n+1 thing that you need to do. So if it's 2 cats, you need to have 3 litter boxes. 1 cat, 2 litter boxes. Make sure that the litter box isn't close to their food and water. They like them to be separate. And this is especially important in multi-cat houses, because they will compete over use of the litter, or they may be scared to use the litter because another cat is guarding it. So you have to see that your cat is always comfortable and safe when they're going to use a litter. Another cat isn't blocking them. When you're cleaning it out, you have to clean it out at least twice a day. If you see that your clumps of urine are much bigger than usual, then that itself is a red flag, because that may indicate a kidney issue or diabetes or something like that. If the urine volume suddenly goes up and the frequency of urination goes up. With males especially, they get something called FLUTD, which is feline lower urinary tract disease, which is often triggered by stress. So if you see that they're frequently going into the litter box, coming out, spending more time in the litter than usual, then that could definitely warrant a vet visit, because they will try and pee and then not be able to, and then that's very dangerous. So just keeping an eye on that is.
And the litter box should be in different places in the house.
Yes, behaviorally I would, because if there's conflict over the litter, you want it spread over. If it's in one zone, it's easy for one cat to say, hey, you can't use the bathroom.
Yeah, always spread out. Yeah.
Spread out. Behaviorally, what I found is you also want to see if the cat is sort of littering outside the box. It would also mean constipation, because they need like a firmer ground to push, and if they're vocalizing then. So if you just have a misfire in the litter box, I would check medically also, are you constipated? What are you eating? Are you getting enough moisture? Because constipated cats will do that. Also, it might be behavioral. They might just do it as a act of dominance. exposed poop is an act of dominance in cats. The kind of litter, so because we were talking how fussy cats are, mostly you cannot change your litter time once the cat's decided she likes it. Scented litter, we might like it, but cats don't really like it. Even covered litter boxes, many cats do not take to them because you're smelling fumes. We want our bathrooms well ventilated. So these are a few things. If I had a senior cat, I would also check the height of the ledge, because senior cats might find getting in and out a little difficult. So those are adjustments you might want to watch through life. So if there's a misfire in like, if they're not using litter, I would check all of these. Diet, is your paw hurting? Do you not like the litter type? Are you constipated?
So let's also talk a little bit about like multi-cat households, since both of y'all, you have 2, you have 3. So what is your recommendation generally to cat parents who, or maybe want to get a new cat? How should they go about it?
Well, the thing is, cats are not pack animals. They do not hunt together. Because the size of their prey is so small, they don't need to like hunt and bring it down. Little things. They do not raise their young together. They do not flock together for safety like dogs do. So you have to think of them as introverts who will coexist if the room is large enough and they can read in different corners of the house. They're not going to come together to play Antakshari. So that's just not who a cat is. I found 2 cats to be a number that can coexist. 3 cats, in my experience, is when the trouble starts. Unless you have like a great combination of, I don't know, siblings or the right ages or the right genders. But with cats, it's such a roulette. I don't know if you have to like now match horoscopes, like it has to be 2 Aquarians and a Capri, I don't know. So 2 cats is good. 2 cats is a good start to keep it at that. And the trouble is when the cat is stressed, when the dominance play starts and they start blocking the litter box, or they start blocking resources. You can't come to my human, you can't come to my sofa. The cat who's suppressed, stress is so bad for them. It really quickly deteriorates into physical ailments. So the cat who's living under stress is really badly affected. It's not like dogs. Dogs can still kind of cope because they also get to de-stress, right? You go for a walk, you play and all of that. But cat starts, her movement is mostly restricted. She'll keep in that hidden space. She'll keep in that room. And then everything is affected. She's not going to the bathroom. She's not eating enough, so she's not getting enough water. She's not doing hunt, so she's not shaking off all of that stress. So within 2 weeks, you'll have deterioration of physical health when she's living in an acrimonious sort of relationship with other cats. She's not grooming, she's not getting sunlight.
So they say spaying and neutering is essential for cats, and it's very different as to what we think about spaying and neutering when we think about dogs. So maybe you can tell us a little more about that.
So yes, I do think it's essential for both your males and your females. One of the reasons is with females, they have something called a seasonal estrus, which means that they will come into heat when other cats in the vicinity are on heat as well. So if you're in a tower, a cat will sense if the stray cats downstairs are on heat, and they'll all come into heat together. And they can come into heat multiple times a month if they are not neutered. So basically, if they're ovulating and they're not getting pregnant, they will keep coming into heat. Then their ovaries will be silent for a couple of months and then will start up again. And each time they come into heat, it's frustrating for them, and it's very frustrating for the cat parents because they'll be meowing, and it's a very guttural sort of meow that they will be doing all night. And the males don't come into heat, but they will sense if a female is in heat, and then they will vocalize. So that's what people call a male being in heat, which is not really a thing, but they will act differently when a female is in heat. So when you're neutering them, you're eliminating this totally. And also all the health benefits. You're not getting any, there's a 0 chance of them getting like an infected uterus or pyometra later in life. And the earlier you do it, you're cutting your chance of them getting mammary cancer down to almost 0. With males, if you don't neuter them, they will more often than not spray urine everywhere. So it's different from urination. Spraying is just like a little burst of pee on your sofas, on your walls, on the windows, and that smell is very, very hard to get rid of.
Mostly vertical places is your indicator of spraying.
Okay, yeah. So that's mainly when they want to mate that they do that, like a marking behavior.
But you have to make sure you're not doing it because you think you're eliminating a chance of them being aggressive. So don't do it for behavioral reasons, do it for health reasons, I'd say.
Yeah. It's not going to be the short way to reduce aggression in a multi-cat household. That's going to be more of an environmental or a this management. It's not going to be neutering, but yes, for population and the yowling.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. Yeah, for sure. I mean,
Yeah. It's very distinctive.
yeah. And I mean, it's so different with dogs and cats. So even if there's like a cat with like hip dysplasia, you would still recommend spaying and neutering.
Yes. In fact, even for your paralyzed kitties, we still recommend spaying. Yes.
So spay and neuter for sure. Do not miss out on this. And behaviorally, I mean, obviously we spoke about aggression, but what about anxiety and things like that? Like,
No, so neutering is not going to help with anxiety at all. Certainly not. It's not going to help with multi-cat aggression either. What it will help is if you want to make an outdoor cat an indoor cat, she'll have less of an impetus to go out and look for a boy or look for a girl. So it's going to help with that.
yeah, yeah. You know how in dogs sometimes they say that if you have a really like an anxious dog, maybe neutering is not the way to go because it cuts off testosterone and so would like heighten that anxiety. Is that the case with cats?
I don't have enough research with cats on that, but it does seem like it would follow the same pattern.
But still, you have to think of the pros and cons, I guess.
Yeah, because it does not help with anxiety. Even in dogs, it doesn't. What we've seen is that fear towards strangers and fear towards new objects or new experiences heightened in dogs that are neutered. It doesn't come down. And in cats who are spayed, aggression towards other cats. In dogs, girl dogs who are spayed, aggression towards other dogs is heightened.
Yeah, I found that really
Because testosterone surge.
Yeah.
Because testosterone surge. And if you have fear, testosterone is what gives you courage.
Yeah.
You kind of take that away.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. Anyway, we've come to the end of this session. So thank you so much for a very, very insightful session today on everything cat related, from behavior to health, on how to adapt a cat to your household. And I hope you guys have enjoyed this as much as I have. Thank you so much for coming today. I appreciate it so, so much. And you guys can get in touch and follow Dr. Michelle and Mitali both. We'll be sharing their Instagram handles in the caption below. Thank you.